In '99, when this place opened, and you were a fledgling, you were the San Jose Clash, perhaps?
Fledgling.
Well, all right.
Oh,
Your career was in high
that was
gear.
a nice opening. Yeah.
What impression did that make on you that American Pro Soccer was now maybe going to a new level, a new commitment to have a soccer-specific stadium? Did that make an impression?
Yeah, absolutely. If you were a part of the game, which I was as a player, you knew of this moment. You knew of the soccer-specific stadium, and I think it was, in a lot of ways, a monumental moment for the growth of the sport, the league. Prior to that, you were kind of, I remember being in Tampa, I remember being in San Jose and playing in football stadiums, and it didn't feel professional, even though you were professional. And I think, rising tides raise all ships, and I think that moment, that investment, and that statement, had a huge ripple effect across our country and across our league. So, and I was a Midwest guy, and I knew the crew. I followed the crew. I was a fan of the crew. So, it's hard for me a little bit as a coach because I'm so locked into. And I said this to the guys today. Then they're the same. We get so locked into the process and the preparation and just being ice in our veins, ready to go and perform. It's hard to be nostalgic, but this is definitely going to be a nostalgic game. Probably afterwards, more than anything. Hopefully with a win to cement the storied legacy of this stadium. Obviously, watching crew games when I was young here live in the stadium, being in 2 MLS Cups. Here as a coach, being here for an NCAA championship at IU. So I believe that things happen for a reason, and this stadium has been very special to me.
What was the first time you were here? Was it as a fan? Was it as a coach? What player? What was it?
Yeah, as a fan. Yeah, in college. When some of my IU boys, were here, Mays and Todd, were friends of mine, guys I played with, looked up to, and, kind of making the trip here, watching a couple matches, actually. Mike Clark, those were guys I looked up to at IU, and Todd Yeager was a roommate of mine. Mays was a role model for me as a player, excellent player. So, that was the first time I ever saw a game here.
And if you can recall, I think nowadays it's so commonplace. You go to a soccer game, for the most part, you're walking into one of these stadiums. But the first time you walked in and being in America and being in a soccer stadium, and maybe it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of stadiums in Europe, but, people I've talked to have really emphasized that factor. Did you have that same kind of reaction that first time of, wow, this is a real thing?
Yeah, I thought it was incredible. Being in college, knowing that you could actually be a pro was really cool. And up until that point, there was no goal unless you're going to be a European player overseas, of being a pro. And seeing again teammates of mine actually doing it was hugely influential for me, just down the road from IU. And so it gave me a lot of inspiration. But being able to see this stadium, I think, knowing what it would be like to actually be a professional playing in that type of stadium. Up until that point, we had all just played in college stadiums, and at best you were in a stadium of 5,000-6,000 for the NCAA championship. I remember in Davidson, I think it was, as a freshman playing, maybe it was Richmond, I forget, playing in a stadium of 15,000. That was the biggest stadium and biggest crowd that I had ever played in. So yeah, just seeing it live and seeing, I thought it was a very cool stadium. I know nowadays people say doesn't have all the bells and whistles, but I still think it's a very cool stadium. And at that time it was the best stadium. Didn't have the VIP suites, but it's still a great structure, and I don't think that can be understated.
Caleb, with so much emotion that's going to be part of Saturday night with the last game here, as a coach, do you have to worry about how you might have to coach with that or against that with your players?
Yeah, I think always, that's always something I have to think about in every game. Some games you have to bring that emotion so that it's bubbling over, because you suspect that there might not be enough, just based on factors. Overconfidence, perhaps, who you're playing. Those are things that I always try to have just a little bit of a fingertip feel on the psychology of the group, and making sure they're in the right, for lack of a better term, kind of arousal level in terms of being confident, but not complacent, and having a little edge, but not being nervous. So this is one I think will be pretty easy for me to know where they'll be at psychologically. But yeah, have to. I'm not going to need to deliver a win one for the Gipper speech in this one. In fact, that's going to, again, over-arouse them, and they'll be ready. In fact, we just need to focus again on less about the nostalgia, because those things are important, but, they can take away from your execution if you're over-emotional.
You mentioned when we talked to you on Wednesday, I think, about the danger of Chicago, just being down in the East, but still having guys that can hurt you. How have you seen the guys kind of handle that this week, and do you feel like everyone kind of has that message in the back of their heads?
Yeah, I told the guys today, I said, this is a team that you can't look at the table and you can't look at the record and think that that's going to be the type of game that they're going to get. I'm never a guy that likes to fluff my guys. I try to be honest, and I told them the truth today that we're going to have to play well to beat this team. They're a lot better than the record. They have 3 or 4 of, I think, some of the best players in the league, or at least guys that would start on any team in the league. I mean, Baric is, more and more I watch this guy, I think his movement, his ability in the box, there are times that he doesn't get enough service, but, he played in Ligue 1 and scored a lot of goals, with Saint Etienne. And he's a capable player. Madron played in La Liga. He's a very talented player, extremely technical, understands rhythm of the game. Jimenez is an Argentine international. He's an animal. They've got good players, and they're organized as well, and they're very tactical in the attack, and they're capable of creating chances through positional attacks as well as any team in the league. Their issue comes in at times, when they have to defend for long periods, and they're not really built for that. So it's going to be important that we're respectful of, the phases where they have the ball, and we're going to have to be organized, because they're very smart in their positional play, and like I said, very well drilled. And I think their coach is a good coach. It hasn't fallen for them result-wise. I'm hoping it falls for them after our game, but we're going to play this game with a lot of respect for our opponent. But we need to make them defend. We need to make them defend, and we can't let them get into a rhythm.